Welcome to the Techie Tessie channel. My name is Tess, and today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of working in the office versus working remotely. So for a little bit of background, last year I did a summer internship at JP Morgan and it was entirely remote, and this year I went back but it was in the office. And so in this video I'm going to discuss the pros and cons that I found, but obviously these are my own opinion and everyone works in different ways. I just hope that this will inform you into which way works best for you. Pro number one of working in the office is that you can easily reach your colleagues. You're surrounded by all of your colleagues because you'll be working in a team majority of the time if you're in a software development role. And so if you have a question, you can literally just walk up to someone's desk and ask them. Whereas when you're working from home, you may have to literally wait on an email or a reply, which takes up your valuable time. Pro number two of working in the office is that there are minimal distractions. This worked really well for me. I found that I was much more productive working in the office than from home because you're in an environment which is conditioned for you to work, and you're surrounded by your colleagues as well who are also in a hyper-focused state of mind. So you're all working on the same thing, you're all working towards the same goal. You don't have, your fridge right next to you, your phone right next to you. So it's a much more work-intensive environment. Pro number three of working in the office is that networking comes naturally. Like I keep saying, you're sat right next to your colleagues, so having small talk, having coffees is a completely natural, normal thing to do. I found networking really difficult when I worked from home, having to schedule Zoom calls with people, because I also find Zoom calls really draining. Whereas when you're just like chatting with someone over coffee or at lunch, it's a lot more natural and you make really strong connections that way. Now on to the cons of working from the office. Con number one is the cost of commuting. When you're working from home, obviously you don't have any travel costs, so that's a great way to save. But even in my case, I made it more challenging for myself. I worked in a different city. I live in Edinburgh and I worked in Glasgow, and so I took the train every day, and so obviously that was quite a lot of money to be spending just to go to work. Con number two of working from the office is having to use company equipment. Luckily in my case, because I worked at JP Morgan, it wasn't so bad. A lot of their hardware was pretty up to date, whereas I still would have preferred to use my own headset, for example. I had to borrow a headset that I'd have to keep in a locker every day, and I'd obviously like to use my own laptop. So that's something to keep in mind, that you'll have to use whichever devices the company has at their disposal. Con number three, the biggest if you know me personally, limited tea breaks. I love to just sit with my cup of tea next to me whilst I'm working, but obviously when you're working in the office, there's only so many breaks you can take without it being suspicious. You can't keep running back and forth to the coffee machine. Whereas at home, I can sit with a cup of tea next to my desk throughout my entire shift, and it wouldn't even matter. Now let's talk about working from home. Pro number one of working from home is probably the most simple. As many food and bathroom breaks as you want, when you want. You don't have to work on the company's schedule as strictly. Pro number two of working from home builds on what I just said, and it's having the freedom to do whatever you want during breaks. I'm a highly introverted person, and so having to go for team lunches and networking coffees every single day was very tiring for me. So at least when I'm working from home, I can just take that hour to just relax and just unwind. Whereas when I was in the office, I found that a lot of the lunch breaks would turn into networking sessions or brainstorming sessions, and that just felt like more work when I was supposed to be on my break. Now let's talk about the cons of working from home. Con number one of working from home is there are so many online meetings. At least when you're in the office, you have some meetings in person, and so you don't get Zoom fatigue, which I really suffer. When I have a lot of Zoom calls, I get such a bad headache, and so that was a real issue for me when I was working from home. And con two of working from home builds on what I said at the very start of this video, and that's you have much slower team communication. If you have a question, you have to literally wait on an email or a message, or have to schedule a Zoom call with somebody. Whereas when you're in the office, you can just walk right up to the person you need to speak to and ask them the question directly. Before I wrap up this video, I should say that I made a Twitter thread on this very topic, which I will link in the description below, along with my book, which I wrote about internships. Link is also in the description below. I hope you found this video helpful, keep the code coming, and I'll see you next time.